Hello guys, welcome back. So in this tutorial we are going to first of all we are going to create a story activity where we will basically display the story image and the total number of views, that is how many people have seen your story alongside the delete button. Okay, this is for an online user, that is, let's say I'm an online user and I see my own story. Now for the other user will just see the story image. Okay, so yeah, just right click on your package name, let's just complete it, you will understand it. Okay, and let's create an empty activity, and the name of this activity will be story activity. So activity.kt. First of all, we will go to the XML file, which is our activity story.xml file for this activity that we created. So it has been created successfully. And now let's just go to the text, and here first we make sure to change this constant layout to the relative layout, and now we need to add an image view. It will be match parent. Let's give ID to this. Here basically we will display our image, which is our the story image. And just to make it unique, I think let's just give it some proper ID, image story. And then let's add the scale type for this to center crop, and let's add a source so that you can see how it will looks. Okay, content description null. And after this we need to add a linear layout quickly. Match parent. By the way, the orientation for this will be horizontal. And now inside this linear layout we need to add two things. Hope you can see in Instagram, that is, when we click here anywhere, when we were displaying someone and we want to see someone's story. Okay, let's say I'm seeing my friend's story. So when I click on the left side, here, then basically it moves to the previous story. Okay, and if I click here on the right side, then it skip the current story and move to the next story. Hope you have seen this feature in Instagram. Okay, we will be displaying the same thing here. So we need to add here a view. It will be 0 dp, and then it will be match parent. The height will be match parent. And let's close this. Also, let me just move it. Next thing is the layout weight, which will be 1, and let's give proper ID to our this view. So the ID for this will be reverse, which I already explained how it will work. Okay, that is, if a user, let's say now when we add the other one, I will just tell it again, that is what it means. Okay, let's add another view, and this one will be skip. Okay, now here you can see now. Okay, this is our left side of the story. Whenever the user click in this area, whenever the user tap here, then we will basically move to the previous activity, the previous story. Okay, that is, we will display the previous story. And whenever a user click on this side, which is the right side, we will move to the next story, which means to skip the current story and move to the next, to display the next story. Hope you understand the whole idea. Anyways, then here at the top, just like you guys see in Instagram, for each story there is a tracker. Okay, that tell us about the story time, that is a line, or you can say the story progress bar or story progress view. Okay, so in order to add that, we have to add a dependency for that, and that is basically Let's quickly add this implementation com.github.shts colon capital S stories capital Progress VIEW, and this view is also capital. Okay, so stories progress view, hope you can see it. Okay, colon 3.0.0. so make sure to use this same, okay, which is com.github.shts colon stories, S is capital, progress P is capital, view V is capital, colon 3.0.0. then just click on sync now and it shows this error. Let me just check. Okay, sorry, I forgot to add one more thing. Once you add this, okay, add this dependency and then go to the build.gradle, your project level build.gradle, okay, not the module app. In the module app, just add this dependency and then come here to the build.gradle project, your project, okay, project level build.gradle file, and here we have inside this, let me just minimize this. Here you can see we have written this all projects, then the repositories Google JCenter, and then here all you need is just to add this thing, okay, Maven, and inside these curly braces, okay, inside this curly braces just write URL, and then inside this double quotation write https colon slash slash jetpsk.io, which means jetpack.io, okay, and then try again. Again run the sync. Now it will work. Okay, here you can see it. So yeah, it is now synced successfully. So once it is done, the next thing is to just come back here to the XML file, and after that we have to add our progress view. So in order to add that, you have to type jp and this will appear, okay, jp.shts. just click on that, and if I show you, then it will be this thing, this progress view, okay, the dependency that we add, after that this will appear, which is our progress view. Now you will understand it. Just like you guys see in Instagram, it is the same progress. So let's give it some width and then some height to it. 10 dp will be good. Sorry, the width will be match font. Okay, just like this, and this is the height, and let's give some margin. Margin start will be at dp, and margin end will be at dp. Then gravity will be obviously top, and let's give some margin from the top. It will also be at dp. So here you can see it, it will appear like this, and let's give id to it. So the id for this will be stories underscore progress, stories progress. Then we need to display the, alongside with the story image, we have to display the profile image of that person who have uploaded that story, our friend image, let's say, if from the following. So we need to add a relative layout quickly. It will be rep content, and inside this we need to add a circle image view, which will be rep content. Let's give id to it. First of all, let's give margin to it from all sides, 10 dp, and then the id for our circle image, so it will be our story underscore profile image, and change the width to 30 dp. Instead of that, let's change it to 40, because 30 is very small. And center vertical true. Let's add a source so that you can know how it will looks. Okay, just like this. Now here if I show you, then we have to move this little bit down, so let's just give it some margin. Now it looks good. Okay, let's give it margin from the top 20 dp. Okay, and yeah, I just want to check this. So, and also change this to 25, and then copy paste this down below. It should change this to margin from the left, and from the left we have to give it add dp. Yeah, now it is okay. Now alongside with this profile image we have to display the username of that person also, so we can say text view wrap content text username text color hash f means white color, text size 16 sp, center vertical true, to end of id and paste this id here just like this. Okay, and now let's just give it some margin. Now margin from the start 5 dp will be good. Okay, so that's it. Now let's give id to this. So the id for this will be story underscore username. And now to the last thing is to add here basically a scene by, okay, which will display the total number of viewers, and also a delete button. And when a user click on that scene number button, then it will display also the profile of the users who have seen your story. Now after this relative layout, we can add here a linear layout. We wrap content orientation for this will be horizontal, and let's move this whole to the align parent bottom to true, and let's give id to this, because in other, if I see my friend stories, then this whole, I mean these two, the delete button and this scene will not be visible to the other people, but only for the user who is an online user. And I mean for your own story you can see only the delete button and the total number of person who have seen your story, just like Instagram. So we can give this name as layout underscore scene. Let's add some background for this. So background for this will be hash 2 and then add 7 zeros. Okay, 7 zeros. Padding will be 4 dp, and layout margin will be 10 dp. And now let's add inside this relative layout. So first of all we will have a text view, a simple text view, wrap content seen by. The text color will be Android white, color white. The gravity layout gravity will be center. And after this we need to add another text view which will display the total number of scenes. Okay, we will add it just after that. So scene by 0, and let's give id to it. So the id for this one will be scene underscore number, scene number, and then the text size 18 sp, text type will be bold, and the layout gravity will be okay. We have already had that. Here you can see. Let's add the text color. By the way, text color is already added. Okay, so we have added all the things, sorry for that. And I mean, yeah, let's just add the margin from start 10 dp. So here you can see it will display like this. Now once you do this, the next thing is after this linear layout we have to add another text view. So let's just copy this text view and paste that here. So the width, first of all let's change the id of this to story delete. Width will be 80 dp, height will be ref content, and the text here will be delete. Margin, change this to margin right 10 dp, and margin bottom 10 dp, line parent bottom to true, and let's move to the right side. So align parent and to true, just like this. Also we need to add a background to it. So this is our linear layout, the same background, which is this one. Okay, copy it, paste that here, and the gravity will be at center, which means to move the text to the center. And by the way, change the text size to 16. Also let's give it some proper height, 40 30 dp will be good, I guess. Yeah, let's change this to 35 dp. So now you can see we have a delete button, we have a scene by, and everything is okay for the design. Now the next thing is to move to the story activity, and let's just first quickly complete our functions. Okay, which is to for the scene number, I mean the total number of scenes. So what I'm going to do is let's just quickly create private fun, and this will be scene number, and it will take two parameters. One is the story id, which will be of string data type. Let's create a reference, Firebase database dot get instance dot ref dot child. Child will be our story node, and after that we will have a child which will as you know that for each user, I mean the story is stored under his id. So let's just quickly create a variable here at the top. We can give its name as which will be of string type variable, and let's give it name as current user id, and it will be of type string. Okay, so colon string, and let's initialize it with a null. Now we have to assign it id. So inside our own create we can just say current user id equals to Firebase auth dot get instance dot current user dot uid, and we are storing this id in here, our this variable, which is of string data type. and so you have to change this value to variable var. Okay, so current user ID, and then pass this current user. Make sure to change this to variable var, and then here we can say current user ID, but this function will not get the online user ID. Okay, so create a variable which is the current user ID, which means an online user ID, and one is the, let's create another variable which will just the user ID, on which basically which we will pass to our this story activity from our adapter, which is our story adapter. Okay, so that let's just give that name as user ID, and it will also be of string type, and as I told you, we will pass a value to our this story activity that we will store here in this variable. So in order to get that, we can say user ID equals intent dot get string x, and please make sure to use the same variable name, which is this one. I mean, not the variable name, this key name. By using this name, we will pass the value from our adapter, so make sure to use this same spellings, okay, which is user capital I and D, user ID. Okay, so once you do that, pass this user ID here dot child story ID, and by the way, this is the variable that we are passing to this function as a parameter, which is our this story ID. And the views is not yet added in the database, but we will add it also. Okay, so under that story ID we will have a subchild which will be by the name views, that will contain views for each photo, VIEWS. Please use the same spellings, okay, otherwise you will get confused. Add value event list, we have to add the listener for single value event object colon value event listener to curly braces, and then in here we have two functions, which is the on data change, remove the comment, then the on cancel, remove the comment, and then in here we can say basically here we will display our scene number. As you know that this, which I told you, this scene number function, we are going to display the total number of views, that is how many people view your story, so the total number. So by the way, this is not the function we are calling. Let's come here, I'm talking about this thing, okay, which is scene number. Just copy this ID, come here, and then paste that scene number here, okay, and then import this, import, okay, dot text equals to, add some space here, I mean this empty quotation, and then add a concatenation sign after this. We can just simply say data snapshot, which is basically this thing, your dot get children count, dot children count. So this thing will basically return the total number of views and add this address, which is our views, okay, this whole address basically, which will contain the ID of that persons who has seen our image or photo, okay. And by the way, it is just for displaying the numbers. Also we will display their profiles, but first, I mean, we have to go step by step. So in this method we are displaying this. Also let's add now that function which will basically add a view at this address, okay, which is under that view subnode. So let's also create that function quickly. So private fun add view to story, and it will also receive one parameter which will be the story ID, on which basically the user navigate, that is, let's say I navigate to my friend, that is I click on my friend's story and I view it. So basically each story has their own unique ID. So for that, let's just copy this. Okay, we have already write the reference here. So firebase database.getInstance reference, dot child story dot child user id dot child story id dot child views, and after this dot child views we have another where we can add the current user id, that is the online user who is going to view someone's story. So current user id dot set value to true. So hopefully now you get the idea of this story. Okay, so let's say I just click on my friend story. Okay, so I'm an online user, so it will add the view at this address under this view node. Okay, it will add my id and with a value true, and then we inside the scene number we are retrieving the total number of views. So under that view node where we are basically adding the views, let's say many people view my friend story. Okay, that is their friends. Okay, so at this address there will be total number of child, let's say 11. Okay, so 11 people see that, so it will just get the children count. As you know that children count basically return the total number of sub childs at this, at this location in the database under that view node. Okay, and we are displaying it here on the scene number text view. So anyways, hope you get the idea now clearly. Also we have to, we will display the user profile photo and the username. Now for this we have already add a function on our notification, on the story adapter. Just we have to copy paste that function where it is, this one. Just copy this and we will do changes according to the story activity. So just copy it from here, come back to the story activity and paste that here. It will receive only one parameter here, which is the user ID. Okay, that is, let's say I click on someone story, so that person has their own ID and which we are passing to our this story activity here. You can see it. Okay, we will pass this from our story adapter. So anyways, let's just complete this function quickly. So dot child user id, if the PO exists, which means our snapshot exists, data snapshot exists. Picasso dot get load user dot get image, we have to display it on our view, on our profile, which is the id for which is story profile image. So just copy this id, come here and then paste that here. And the next thing is remove this if statement from here. Next thing is to display the story name also. So story username, copy the id, come here and paste that here, dot text equals to user dot get username. And if this show any error, okay, then all you're gonna need is just to add these two non-asserted. Okay, hope you understand. So this is our user info. Now we have to create a function where we will get all the stories, their images and story IDs, which are, by which I mean simply that is, let's say a user will upload many stories. That is, let's say I upload 5 stories. Okay, so for each story there will be a time, that is for how much seconds you want to display it. And also for single user we have to manage all these things. So for that what we're gonna do is, let's just create separate function, private function get stories, and it will receive, it will have the, it will receive only one parameter, which will be of string type user ID. Also let's create here at the top list images, which will be of type list. Initialize this with a null. Then we will have another one in which we will have the story IDs. It will be of list type and initialized with another. So come back to the function and here we can say images list, and this is our array list. Same is our other one, which is our story IDs. Let's give this a proper name. Otherwise, let's add a list alongside with the story IDs list, okay, so that we cannot get confused with it. Story IDs list. And now let's create a reference to our story node. I'm going to copy it from here. Reference dot add value event listener. Add listener for single value object value event list. Images list as array list will receive string type data. Okay, first we have to make sure that it is clear. The same is for our story IDs. Story IDs list. And now by using for loop for each snapshot in children to area of type story, which is our model class. Snapshot dot get value story. Oh, sorry, remove the round brackets. Story.java class.java. Time current equals to system dot current time millis. We have to add a condition in order to check the time. If the time current is greater than dot get time start. And if the time current is less than story dot get time end, then we have to get the image, okay, the image URL, and store it inside our image list array list. So here we can say dot add story dot get image URL, and we will add the ID of it to our list, which is our story ID list array list. Okay, dot story dot get story ID. So once we add that one by one to our image list, all the images URL and their IDs to this array list, which is our story ID list, the next thing is story progress view. You have to manage that, so let's create an instance of that as stories progress view. It will be of type stories progress. Initialize this with a null, and then in our own create we can just say stories progress view equals to find view by ID or dot ID dot, and the ID for this is, we have to check this one, stories progress. Copy it, come back here and paste. Now come down to the function, and after this for loop for each, then say story progress dot set stories images list as list dot size. So whatever the total number of stories has been uploaded by this user, okay, that is, let's say this user uploaded 4 stories, so we have to get that basically we have to get that, we are getting that, and we are adding this in our this array list, which is by the name images list, and we are adding the IDs of it to this list, which is story ID list. Okay, on the basis of which we will display progress view on that. So let's say if we have four stories uploaded by the same user, then on the same page, that is, let's say one story start, let's say we will basically allow a story to view for 5 seconds. Okay, you can also, I will tell you guys how to do it for more than 10 seconds, whatever you like. So anyways, for 5 seconds it will move to the next story automatically, and then to the next and to the next. And let's say if four stories completed, then it will move to the next person, that is other person stories. So how you get the idea? Okay, so basically that's why we are saying that is, let's say if there are four stories for the same user, so we have to get their size. I mean, how much stories we have for the same person and also for the other one. I mean, we have to get it, that is from our friends. Stories progress view dot set story duration. Now how much we will do it for? 5000 L means I think long. Okay, so for 5 seconds. Okay, if you want to do it for like 10 seconds, I mean to display the story for 10 seconds, then all you're gonna need is just to change this 5 to 10. And let's say if you want for 20 seconds, then change this 1 to 2. We want just for 5 seconds, so 5000 L, and instead of this 6 will be good. 6 seconds. Okay, so stories progress, set story listener, this at the rate story activity. Now here if you see this red line, okay, don't worry, I mean it just, here we need to just implement the on previous on next function. Okay, that is to move to the previous activity and to the next activity, for which we add the view. But first let's just complete this, which is the story dot start stories, and here we have to pass the counter. Okay, that is the counter. If you remember in the previous tutorial, we have done something here on our activity, think on the add story activity, not here, but okay, we have not done that part yet, but we have to pass, I mean we will create, I mean on our notification, on our story adapter, we will basically in add a counter that will count basically the stories. Okay, so for that, and that we will pass here to our this story activity. So for that, just like we are passing the user ID here to our this story activity, we will also pass that counter here. So let's just add that counter variable. We will initialize it with 0. Okay, and then here we have to receive it just like we receive the user ID. Okay, I will tell you this when we will be implementing that on our story adapter. Okay, first let's just receive it here. Dayar vyar sarna ha 3820 namasha counter up. Now here we need to pass the, we need to create a variable first by the name counter, initialize it with a 0, and then come down here and pass that counter variable here. Now this will basically check the stories, that is, let's say one story pass, then the two story pass. Okay, we see the third story, fourth story, fifth story, and so on. Dot get dot load images list dot get, and here we have to pass that counter and add the non-asserted here. Then we have to display it into our this image view, the ID for which is image story. Copy the ID and paste that here. Now if you want, you can also add a placeholder. Let's say in case if the photo is loading, I mean retrieving from the database, then till then we want to display our placeholder, which is our order driver dot profile. And after this we can call our functions add view to, then we can say story ID list dot get, pass the counter here. So let's say for story 1 it will have the counter 1 and it will have the id, okay, counter, which means at the first index, second index, the third index. So at the images list, let's say at 0 index we have an image, so at the 0 index in the story id list we have their story id. Hope you get the idea. Same is for the second image and same is the second id, that is at the second index we have their id in the story id and their images at the second index at the images list. So hope you understand and get the whole idea. And now we have to call our other function, which is our scene number. So story id list dot get counter. Now once it is done here, just come back and click on here. Okay, click here and you will see this red bull. And if you here you can see let story activity implement interface story progress view dot this. Okay, which is basically these three function, which is on complete, on previous, on next. On complete means, let's say I view the complete story, okay, then it will move to the next or to the previous, I mean what we want to do in these things. So just select all these. You can also select all these, press ok. Let me tell you now, you can also implement it. If you do not want to implement it from there, you can just type on complete and it will appear like this. So I hope you understand. I mean, you can also just manually type it, that is just write on and it will tell you all these on complete, on previous, on next. So anyways, create the on complete, remove these comments from it first of all. Same from here. First of all, I already told you what this on next, on previous, on complete will do. Now since you know that, here in our on next, let's just come here first and from here copy this 3 lines, okay, which is picasso.get and then calling the add view story and scene number function. So let's copy it and come here to the on next. Now whenever we move to the next image, okay, whenever we move to the next image, we have to update our counter. Now before we move, let me just tell you one more time this, okay, because it's important to understand this concept. Now you know that let's say we start at index 1, we have an image, that is, let's say I log in into my app, I just click on a story, I see my friend's story, okay, that is story number 1, let's say at index number 1. So the counter value is 1, which means index number is 1. At the images list we have their image at index 1 and at the story list we have the story id at index 1 for that same image. Now we click on next, then we move to the next image, so their counter must be incremented, that is at the second index we have the second image, okay, in the image from the images list, and their id is also at the second index at the story ids list. Same for the third image, for the fourth image, and so on. Okay, so we have to increment the counter. So for that, what we're going to do is just need these two brushes, okay, I don't know what we call this, but add this and then increment counter, okay, plus plus counter. So it will increment the counter. So at the second index we have the second image, okay, and since we initialize our counter variable globally at the top, so it will automatically change the value to 2. So at the second index we have the second image, and that image id is at the second index at this array list, which is our story id list. And we have already done all these things in our function when we which we done here, get stories, okay. So we are getting for each image, for each story we get their image, we store it inside the images list, and we get the id of that image and we store it inside our story id list, okay. So hope you now understand also the get stories and this whole thing. Hopefully you can understand it now. So once you do this, the same thing we will do here. Do not increment it here, just remove the increment from here because we have already incremented that there one time. So anytime the user click on next, it will just increase the counter, which means change the index to third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on. Because at the array list we have images according to their IDs, okay, and their index number, sorry, their index number, okay. and the images list contain the images for each and every story, and their story, I mean their IDs, are stored inside the story ID list. And also on previous, we will basically display the previous activity to the user. Now what we are going to do here we want to decrement this, and since you know that once the story is seen by a user, and there is no need to add the view to the story again, okay, it will be already added. So only scene number, and we decrement, which means we just decrease the index by one number. So let's say a user move from story 4 to the story 3, so we will just change the index from 4 to 3, which means the counter. Okay, counter represents basically our index numbers for our array list, image list, and story ID list. And on complete, if we have seen all the stories, then we just want to finish, I mean we just want to close our story activity and move to go to the home fragment automatically. I mean we want to send the user to the home activity, just like you guys see in Instagram. Okay, so we just want here to finish everything. Also let's implement the built-in functions, which is the on destroy and on resume, which means if the user minimize the app and if the user close the app, then in that case what we want to do. So we have functions for that: on destroy, on resume, and the other one is on pause. On destroy, which means if the user close the app, what we want to do, we just want to, or let's say if the user close the app, or by any mean, let's say the app destroy, then we want to just destroy our story progress view. We do not want to display it. Okay, so just destroy. And on pause, which means when the user minimize, or let's say the user open to application and the user minimize this Instagram, or you can say move to the second app, so it is basically on pause. By the way, you can also check the details for, I mean if you want to know about these built-in functions, which is on destroy, on resume, on pause in detail, just Google it, you will see about it, okay, what these functions do. And on resume, I mean if the user come back to the app again, then in that case we want to resume the story. Okay, so let's say the user move to the, let's say the user open other app, okay, and minimize this app, then it will just pause the story, and then again user come back to the app and it will resume the same story, I mean the progress view that will for each story. So this is just the short description which I give about the on destroy, on resume, on pause. But as I told you, if you want to know about it in details, you can just Google it. But it is so simple and so easy. I mean, now the next thing is that whenever the user click on any story and the view is created, which means inside the on create, what we want to do is that by default, I mean this, we have to make this invisible, or this linear layout which contains this seen by and our this delete button. So for that we have the ID for this linear layout scene. Just copy this ID, come here to the story activity, and inside our on create, what we want to do is just paste that here, and then we can say visibility, and the visibility for this will be equals to view dot gone. Same as for our delete button. By default it will be gone, but first we have to copy this ID. The ID for story delete is story underscore delete. Copy it, paste that here, because these two things will be visible only for a user who wants to see his own story. So in order to check that, we have to add a condition. If the user ID, if it becomes equals to the current user ID, which means an online user, if it is the same user, it means that we have to display the layout scene visibility, also this delete. So we will allow the user to use these two features. Okay, so layout scene will be visible, and also the delete will be visible. Also let's just make this invisible from here also, since we have proper layouts of gone. And also come here to the layout, linear layout, visibility here will be gone. After this, let's just call our get stories function, and it needs a parameter. We have to pass the user ID to it, and also let's just call our user info function, which needs the user ID as a parameter. And now the next thing is to implement the feature for the next, okay, for this tab, okay, from the previous and for the next, for this views basically. So we need to access that here. So we can just say, let's give it the same name reverse, and it is of type view, and let's just initialize this here, or dot id dot the id for this one is reverse as that here, reverse dot set on click listener, and here we have to say progress stories progress view dot reverse, and we have to call our reverse function. And then we have to implement also our on touch listener for it. So anyways, for that we can say reverse dot set on touch listener on touch listener. By the way, we will implement this thing. Let's just come here to the top. After this we can say, well, on touch listener equals to view dot, and this one, okay, which this curly brace, starting from curly brace, on touch listener curly brace, and here you can see motion event, okay, view parameter, and then in here return false, just write false. And now we have to add a when condition. If the event which represent this motion event basically, if motion, and let me tell you, you can change the name of it to anything, okay. And some of you guys, maybe these two parameter appears like by different names, so you have to use that names only, okay. So motion event, if that motion event is dot act. Now we have two type of actions here. If the motion event dot action down, then in that case what we want to do. And if we have the other one, which is the motion event dot action up, if the action is up, we need to create here a variable press time equals to 0 L. Also we need to create another variable by the name limit. Initialize this with 500 L, and now come down here, and here we can say that if press time equals to system dot current story progress view dot pause, return false. Now let's just copy paste this down here, and here we need to create a variable by name now equal to this dot resume, and it will return limit less than now minus press time. And now come down here, and here we can pass the on touch listener to it. The same we will do for the skip. You just copy paste this and give this name as skip, and the ID for this is different, which is skip. Copy and paste the ID here. So skip dot set on click listener storage progress view dot call the function skip here, and then skip dot set on touch listener on touch listener. Now we have to basically display if a user click on the total number of followers, then we will display the that person profiles, just like we display the following list, the followers and the likes. Okay, who are these who's these persons are who view basically my story, let's say. So if you remember, I told you guys one thing. If you go to the followers activity, sorry, not the follower, the activity where we basically write the code for all the followers, for the likes and all these things, which is basically our show users activity. At that time I told you guys that we are adding this thing, okay, views. We are adding these views, and when we implement the stories for displaying the views, we will use this. Okay, and we also create empty function for that. We have not implemented the code obviously now, but now is the time to implement that. Okay, so whenever the user click on this button, which is basically our scene, our number about displaying the total number of user, okay, which is the layout scene. When the layout scene is visible, if I show you, I'm talking about this thing, okay, scene number. That is, let's say my story is seen by 15 people. So if I click on that 15, then it will display me all these 15 people profile. That is, who are these persons, who these persons are. So copy this scene number, and okay, and then come back to the show story activity. First of all, let's just set a listener on it. Dot set on click listener, and here we have to pass the user, to send the user to follower activity alongside with the user ID and the title. Okay, because here on the basis of title it is displaying these functions. Okay, so just for the time saving, come here to the user adapter. From here I just want to copy this code, okay, which is for the intent, and then so let's just paste that here, and we are on the story activity. We want to send the user it is story activity, and we want to send the user to the activity which name is show user activity, and it needs two parameters, as you know that. So we have to pass the ID, okay, user. We have to pass the story ID alongside with it, and also the title. Three parameters, three things we are going to send. So story ID list counter, and the last one is the title. So title, make sure to use the same spellings, okay, that we are using here, use. And as you know that we are receiving the ID and title by the same name, okay, on which we are sending from here. And then start activity for the intent. Also we have to receive the, no, we just need the ID and title. So anyways, once we receive that, here on our show user activity we have to display all those users, so we have to write the code for it here. So just for the time saving, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy this code from here, then come back here and paste that inside this get views function. So reference, the reference is up to the story node dot child story dot child ID. We have to get our story ID that we are passing here, which is this thing, okay, story ID. In order to get that, all you're gonna need is just to copy this intent and paste that here, and we have the title, we have given sending it by the name story ID. So story.child ID, which represents the user ID, under that we have the story ID, that specific story which has the views, okay, dot child views. which represent the total number of viewers. So we are going to represent only that person. So views, make sure to take care of the node's name, okay, starting from small v, and we are using this also, this reference here by this name when we add the view. So that's why I told you guys to use the same spellings and same thing. Otherwise, if you even write capital V, then it will not retrieve, because it will get different, okay. If you write different name for it, then you have to use that different name also here. So that's why I told you guys to use the same name, so that we cannot get confused with it, okay. Views on the same name, we are on the scene number, we are retrieving the total number of viewers, and we are adding the view to the story by the same address, by the same reference, sorry, okay. Here you can see it. So anyways, this is our child views, and now on this reference we retrieving the data, and we are adding it into the ID list, and then we call our show user function. So that's it. So once you do this, now next thing is to just delete the story. If a user click on the delete button, which is our this one, story delete. So let's just copy the ID and just quickly add a listener on it. Dot set on click listener. So let's just quickly create a reference to our story node. I'm going to copy it from here instead of writing it. Come back here and then just paste that. Dot child story ID list counter, and then we have to, using this reference, we can say reference dot remove value. And if you want, you can add on complete listener in order to, when it get deleted, then we will display a message to the user. So we can say task. If the task is successful, then in that case we want to display a message, toast.make this story activity, and the message will be deleted successfully, whatever the message you want to write here. Toast dot length long dot show. So yeah, that's it. This is all about our stories. For displaying the stories, basically story image alongside with the user information on previous, on when the user click on the left side of the story, on the right side of the story, and if a user want to delete the story. So yeah, that's it for this video, and in the next video we will complete this app, which means that we will also complete this story feature. After the story feature, our app will be completed. So we will do that in the next video. So till now we just implement that, to display the stories. Now we have not yet displayed that on our home fragment and add a click event on it, and also we have to differentiate between the user own stories and also the other user stories. So that thing we will be doing in the next video tutorial on our story adapter. So that's it for this video, and see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.